Hello and welcome back to Doom WAD Reviews. This is part 2 of our first full replacement episode, Darkhell, replacing episode 2 of the original Doom. So let's just jump right back into it. I think we left off on map 3. So we'll get our save game loaded up here. Alright, so right off the bat we can see we have probably just some kind of big fight about to happen. We're good on pretty much everything, to be perfectly honest. I'm just going to pull this out just for good measure, because I feel like this is about to get nasty. Go ahead and collect all these things. Don't need the soul spheres or the armors. Alright. Well, these buttons look ominous to me. What does that do? Nice. Whoa, okay. Okay, so that is a lot of projectiles. It's impressive to me, actually. I mean, ooh, that looks cool. Isn't that cool looking? It's actually impressive to me to think how old this WAD is, to have this big of an area with this many monsters. Like, at the time this WAD was made, this would have brought so many machines to their knees. For one, just having this many monsters active would have ground your game to a halt, but even if the monsters weren't here, the early versions of the Doom engine had pretty severe limitations on the size of the rooms you could have. I mean, you could have any size room you want, but not without consequences. Rendering a room of this size on early versions of Doom, prior to 1.6666, I think, when they increased the simultaneous sector viewing, I think, in that version. I see we descended from a hole in the sky. Not particularly good, but a little interesting looking, so... what's the objective here? Is there like an exit? But yeah, a room this size may have caused weird rendering issues back in the day. There was a specific name for it. I don't remember what it was called, for the kind of glitchiness that would occur in an oversized room. But I can't recall what the name of that is now. I could look it up in my book. Yeah, I mean, original Doom had a lot of limitations on what you could do. It would let you do a lot of things, but the rendering engine would freak out, even when sometimes you would think maybe it shouldn't. In fact, in a past episode, I remember I was looking at a... Actually, I think it might have been last episode. I was looking at a wall of, like, faces. You know, that texture that has, like, the wall of, like, souls on it, right? And commenting how the texture looked odd and how it had some patchiness to it. I thought about it, and I remembered, oh yeah, that was actually a bug in the original Doom engine. We got some guys here not awake. Wake up! It was actually a bug, because there was a specific way that textures were repeated up a wall like this. And as you can see, we've got this, brown texture here. It is 128 pixels tall and 128 pixels wide, and it just tiles up the wall just fine. And that was true for any texture that was a multiple of 64 pixels high. They would all tile just fine. But there are a few textures in the game that are not an even multiple of 64 pixels, and that soul wall was one of them. And if you attempted to tile it up, it would attempt to tile it in sections of 128 and fail to do so. And it would fill in the area between 72 and 128 pixels with kind of like a patchy, misrendered version of itself, sometimes with some very buggy edges to it. So that's kind of why that looked weird. I honestly don't know what we're doing here. Is this the exit? Well, I can't say I was particularly impressed by that level. Oh dear, and this one's not getting... Okay, so the first two levels so far I've been much more impressed with. And that's not to say they didn't have issues, because they did. That is a lot of little armor bonuses. I like using the blue wall texture as kind of the edge of a water to give the illusion of like a waterfall. I've actually used that effect in one of my own WADs. Nope. It's just all around going to be easier to do this. Sup, Chief? Alright, I can't have you guys spooking around behind me. Yeah, that's why. There we go. Okay, what do we got? I always liked the music of this level. E2M4, Deimos Lab. I know this was someone that got brought onto the Doom very late in the development process made the original Deimos Lab, and it was one of their first levels ever made, so it's widely regarded to be a little on the simplistic side, not particularly interesting, but I always liked Deimos Lab, so I give it a lot of credit. I do think that the music for it had a lot to do with that. It was always very creepy, very tension-building. This room looks like a stomach. Ow. Yeah, just kind of a big, wide-open area. Interesting use of that texture. Alternating tiles here on the floor. A lot of trees out here, a lot of trees. Alright, what do we got? Ooh, I could actually use this ammo pretty badly. Mixing imps with these tree textures was always a neat trick, because they actually look very similar from a distance. Kind of blend in. Okay, nothing particularly interesting in this WAD so far, just kind of big open areas using very bland textures. We've got lava on the ceiling. Sure, why not? Sorry, gotta... Hello. How you doing? I'm doing just a great job of dodging these shots. Okay. So again, we've got some sky ceiling textures, a little lower than they need to be, creating kind of these paper-thin wall effects. Not particularly good. Secrets? Only 3. Okay. I'm just kind of following this trail of armor bonuses. I feel like it's kind of leading me somewhere. I guess we'll just grab that. This author was not stingy with soul spheres and mega armors. Combat armors, I forget what they're called. Wow, so basically we just got led right to the exit. So, not a particularly good level. We're going to keep going. We've only been recording for a few minutes, actually. Okay, just a big silver room. Well, I gotta say, I was much more intrigued by the earlier levels in this WAD. Interesting. Alright. Ooh, I almost thought that was a one-way staircase. And what I mean by one-way staircase is there's actually a quirk of Doom's the Doom engine and collision detection, whereby you can actually create a staircase that you can run up but not down. And that is because when you're moving upstairs, the game only considers two things. One is the difference in floor height between the sector I'm currently in and the sector I'm moving to, 24 or less pixels, because that's the maximum that Doom Guy can step up is 24 pixels. And is the sector I'm stepping into tall enough to accommodate Doom Guy? Which, as I recall, I think is 48 is the minimum. 48 high. But when you're moving down, it considers two things. It considers, is the sector I'm moving into tall enough to accommodate Doom Guy? But then it also considers, is the gap between the floor of the sector I'm in and the ceiling of the sector I'm moving to big enough to accommodate Doom Guy? And if the answer is no, you get stuck. So you can see where you can create stairs you can walk up, but not down. Okay, so... Now, did these indicate key doors this time? Or soul spheres? This author just did not want you to die, ever, or ever be at risk of dying. I feel like we're just gonna get more and more, you know, let's just grab this, why not? Yeah. Punch. Bad enough that we had doors opening with monsters in them, now we got dudes teleporting in. Okay, back to weaponry. Oh, really cool. How about some of this? Good chat. Very linear level so far. These doors just keep opening and telling you which way to go. Not particularly impressive. Wait. So this has opened, revealing another door. I'm curious what actually opened this door, though. I don't remember seeing any. So we went that way last time. Let's go down this way. Misaligned textures all over the place here. That's just that guy caught a break because he managed to get behind me before I fired the BFG. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even think that was a teleporter. Didn't look at the ceiling. Wait, this looks awful familiar. You gonna open up? Yeah. Is this gonna open? Yep. This is just a mirror of where we already were. Where is it? Well, it's not a mirror, it's actually the exact same. Okay, so we're just out in no map land. What's this map? I don't remember. I'll have to look in the documentation. Whoa, okay. Very weird. Whoa. Interesting, interesting. This whole sector is a door. With, okay, that was an interesting effect. I'll give them that. Is this a blue door? Yeah. Okay, well, some very interesting doors, at least, around here. Afraid of getting crushed. Oh, this is feeling like a BFG kind of situation. Not a very dangerous crusher. He took a lot of punishment there. Alright, have some cells. Grab the key. What? Oh. Thought I was getting crushed there for a second. I was just being shot. Oh, I guess I can go up here. Cool. Let's go up. Oh, there's a blue key. Wait, we already have a blue key. I guess I could have come up this way first. Interesting. Multiple of the same key. Presumably I could have gone this way first and come down over here. Okay, well this area is starting to make the WAD a little more interesting. Strange, very strange. It's all blue door stuff. Do I just go back? What's the deal here? Looks like we might have a door back this way that is... No. Alright. Oh, right, this is just back to where we were. No, that's not open. Where to go? Where to go? I guess this way? It's like there was this entire copy of this area that was the exact same, just... Wasn't there a teleporter down here? Pretty sure there was. Yeah. There's... Well, I had to have missed something. Like, because there's nothing on this version of the area, so it has to all be on the other one. So I gotta go through here, and then figure out exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Kind of blind, actually. Don't think that's the way I've already been. This area is just kind of like the beginning of the other area. And these are the doors, just like the other area, but that one hasn't opened yet. So as far as I can tell, the only way I can go is this way. I have a blue key and a yellow key. I'm trying to find something to do with them. Is there like something... I want to save. I feel like these are going to crush me. Oh no, these don't crush. That's right. Like, is that a... You'd think this yellow door would be important in some way, but... okay, yeah. Cool. Is there like a switch I haven't pressed, or did that do something? It's hard to tell. Does this switch do anything important? Apparently it just lowers this. Which, you know, isn't really anything. Oh, that just lowers the elevator. A lot of random switches doing random things here. That's what I'm hearing. Gives me a very Return to Phobos kind of vibe, with, you know, less good textures and architecture. But there was a pretty good Episode 1 replacement back in the day called Return to Phobos. But if it had one fault, it loved switch puzzles, and it loved just these obscure switches whose functions just were not readily apparent. I don't know that there's anything more to be done in this area. Did we manage to open that door? No. This is a pickle, that's for sure. I honestly have no idea what to do. So looking at that, it kind of has... Okay. There's gotta be something back this way. I mean, there just has to be. There's just no explanation for what it is that needs to be done here. Wait, why are there switches above that door? Okay, well, just a poorly chosen texture, I guess. Blue door. The yellow key was in here. Which immediately led to this yellow door. Which means you could only come to this room from that direction. Except you could get here from there, presumably. I'm just not sure what to make of this. Let's try to get a higher vantage point here. The only two switches I saw in here that seemed to have any meaning whatsoever were these two right here, on either side of this pillar. This switch just lowers this elevator, and there's nothing up there, right? Yeah. This switch just lowers that elevator. So I guess down here... there's no other way to go here, except back this way. There's down this way, but there was nothing here, right? Unless I'm crazy. Yeah, there's the teleporter to the other side. And then back up here was just nothing, kind of a copy of the entrance. These doors right here. Now, I do notice that those doors share texture as this floor over here. I don't feel as though I have a choice here. There's got to be something on this side. let those doors stand closed. Nope, they're open. Okay. Am I stupid? Did I just not check this side after pressing that second switch? I don't know, maybe. And of course, that I can open. There you go. What do we think about that, boys? See, with the another problem with the invisibility sphere, it makes it hard to aim. Oh, okay, you know what? You know what? You know what? There you go. He's too far away to aim at. This is kind of red separator. Very strange. Okay, I'm just gonna press this and raise this very narrow bridge over to the exit. At least that's what I'm assuming that is. Seems legit. Okay, moving on. That's probably a decent place to stop for the episode. Ooh, interesting start here. So I will save this, and let's think about what we just saw. Well, I'm not particularly impressed with the first level we played today. It was just an open arena with, admittedly, a very impressive amount of monsters in it, but the exit switch was pretty much right at the start. So, yeah, not much to say about that one. The map after that, again, they just got very linear, very kind of boring, very open areas with all the trees in the next one. And I felt like maybe there was more to explore on map 4, but the use of the armor bonuses creating kind of a trail, I mean, I just kind of followed them and they just kind of took me right to the exit. And while, yes, there were some monsters along the way, and I think there were some little alcoves along the way where monsters were hidden, where once you went past a certain point, they would see you and become active. You really could just run past them. There was really nothing I felt compelled to explore. Just kind of run straight through. Definition of a linear WAD, which, as far as, first-person shooters go, it's like about a decade before its time, you know what I mean? And then the fifth one there, the one we just finished, I was starting to get a little frustrated with my inability to figure out what was going on. And this comes back to a comment I made in an earlier episode where Switch's functions really need to have some sort of visual or auditory tie to what it is they're doing. Because switches that you just throw and don't know what they do can be very frustrating. Now, that's not to say that what the Switch does has to be in visual range, or you have to be able to hear it. I'm not saying that at all. There just has to be some kind of tie to what it does. And there are other ways of going about that. For instance, one of the methods I like to employ when I'm making WADs is I will sink my switches into a small impression in the wall, and on the sides of that impression, I will line the switch with a certain texture, something very visible and obvious in some way. Usually one of the light textures, like a red light or a blue light, not the key door colors, but kind of the other light textures. And then elsewhere in the level, whatever mechanism that switch activates, I'll line that with the same colored lights. So there's still a visual tie between those two things. It may be a little harder to notice, and maybe only a very observant player might notice that, but there is a clue there as to indicate what the function of that switch is. So, but I didn't see anything along those lines. Maybe I have to go back and watch the footage and see if maybe that kind of clue did exist and I was just blind to it. I won't dismiss that possibility, but yeah, so we'll be moving on to the 6th level. Next episode, I'm hoping maybe to finish this thing. Although I think there is a secret level, so we might still have 4 more to go. That might be enough for 2 more parts. So yeah, that was part 2 of Darkhell WAD. So like and subscribe to keep up with this series, and until next time, rip and tear.